Admiral Iron Pants Rafferty is arriving today for a sneak inspection. The name hit the room like a depth charge. Rafferty was legendary for two things: his impeccable creases and his habit of court-martialing anyone who breathed in an unnaval fashion. "Sir, the base is a mess," Carpenter whispered, stating the obvious. If he sees the gambling, the moonshine stills, or the way the PT-73 crew dresses, Binghamton's stomach gave a violent lurch. "My stomach acid could start a jeep, Carpenter. I can't face him. If I'm seen in this state, he'll have my stripes for breakfast." He paused, a cunning, desperate light flickering in his eyes. "Wait. If I were sick, truly sick, I could appoint an acting base commander. Someone to take the brunt of Rafferty's wrath." Carpenter nodded eagerly. "Brilliant, sir. But who? Not me, surely? I have a delicate constitution." "No, not you, you ninny," Binghamton sneered. "McHale. Quentin McHale and his gang of cutthroats. I'll put them in charge. They'll run wild, turn the base into a Roman orgy within the hour, and Rafferty will destroy them. I'll be tucked away in the infirmary, innocent and grieving over the chaos my subordinate caused." "Sir, you're a genius," Carpenter gushed. "Truly Machiavellian." "Of course I am. Now, call the medic. I'm having an attack. A big one." Binghamton collapsed onto his desk, groaning with a theatricality that would have made a silent film star blush. Chapter 2. The Hula Horror. Quentin McHale was currently engaged in what he called strategic relaxation on the deck of PT-73. His crew, a collection of mechanical wizards, card sharps, and professional scroungers, were busy preparing for a shindig. When the summons came, McHale found himself standing in the infirmary, looking down at a suffering Binghamton. "Oh, McHale," the captain moaned, his head swathed in unnecessary bandages. "The doctors, they don't know. It could be tropical fever. It could be heartbreak. I must step down. I'm appointing you acting base commander." McHale blinked. He knew a trap when he smelled one, and this smelled like a crate of rotten pineapples. "Sir, I'm a saltwater skipper. I belong on the boat, not behind a desk." "Why not Carpenter?" "Carpenter is a boob," Binghamton snapped, briefly forgetting his deathbed persona. "I mean, he's too busy with my medical records. You, McHale, you have the initiative. And to help you, I'm appointing Ensign Parker as your executive officer. Charles Parker, a man whose primary naval skill was tripping over flat surfaces, turned pale. "Me, sir? Executive officer of the whole base? Take command this minute. Out. Out." Binghamton shooed them away, pulling his covers up with a wicked grin. Within 2 hours, Taratupa had undergone a transformation. With McHale in the front office and the crew of the 73 acting as security, the base's natural entrepreneurial spirit flourished. The Petty Officers Club was no longer just a place for bad coffee. It was a high-stakes casino. The air raid shelter had been converted into a dressing room for a troupe of hula dancers the crew had liberated from a nearby island. "Skip, we're raking in the dough," Gruber, the crew's resident entrepreneur, shouted over the phone. "The boys are throwing a real wing-ding. Your orders are full speed ahead, right?" McHale, distracted by a dozen ringing phones and a plumbing crisis involving the nurses' garter belts, shouted back. "Sure, Gruber, whatever, just keep it out of sight." But out of sight was a relative term. When Admiral Iron Pants Rafferty's plane touched down, he didn't find a disciplined naval outpost. He found a base that looked like a cross between a carnival and a pirate cove. "McHale!" Rafferty roared, his eyes bulging as he stepped into the office. "It's a native custom, sir," McHale said, trying to hide elay behind his back. "Welcome to Taratupa. I want an inspection." "Now," Rafferty demanded. The chaos that followed was a symphony of near disasters. Parker, acting as the Admiral's guide, led him on a route designed to avoid the hula dancers, only to lead him directly into the path of a rolling keg of medicinal brandy. Desperate, McHale steered Rafferty toward the infirmary, hoping to show him a sick captain. But Binghamton, unable to resist witnessing Mikhail's downfall, had snuck out in a seaman's uniform to spy on the orgy he expected to see. In a climactic confrontation near the laundry shack, Binghamton, looking like a deranged stowaway, pointed a shaking finger at the air raid shelter. "Admiral! In there! Hula girls! Thousands of them!" Rafferty looked at the shelter. It was empty. The crew had moved the girls to the laundry shack. Then, when Binghamton pointed to the laundry shack, the girls were already back in the shelter. "Binghamton," Rafferty sighed, looking at his senior officer in a dirty sailor suit. "You're delirious. Combat fatigue. I'm putting you on a mandatory rest leave. Mikhail, carry on. You seem to have a firm hand on things." Binghamton was hauled away, screaming about hula dancers and conspiracies, while Mikhail and Parker shared a relieved, terrified look. Chapter 3. The Sultan's Sorrow. Diplomacy was not a word usually associated with the crew of PT-73. However, when the Sultan of Marami and his 3 beautiful daughters were forced to make an emergency landing near Taratupa, Mahale found himself playing host to royalty. The Sultan was a man of immense dignity and even more immense luggage. He carried his most valuable possessions in ornate chests and guarded his daughters with a ferocity that made Admiral Rafferty look like a teddy bear. "If any man dares to debase the dignity of the princesses," the Sultan declared, "he shall answer to me." "Wow, wow, wow," Gruber whispered from the sidelines. "Look at those princesses. They're like something out of a dream." "Keep your eyes on the boat, Gruber," Mikhail warned. But the Sultan was charmed by the PT-73. He loved the speed, the roar of the engines, and the way Mikhail handled the wheel. "If my country had a navy," the Sultan mused, "I would want 1,000 of these." Binghamton, back from his rest leave and more desperate than ever to reclaim his prestige, organized a grand dinner for the Sultan. But there was a problem. One of the princesses, the rebellious Siri, had snuck off for a secret boat ride with Virgil, one of Mikhail's sailors. When the engines conked out, as they often did when Virgil was trying to be romantic, Siri was missing from the palace quarters, just as dinner was being served. "If the Sultan finds out one daughter is missing," Parker whimpered, "he'll declare war. Or worse, he'll tell Binghamton. We need a ruse," Mikhail decided. "Parker, get the dress?" "No," Parker said. "Absolutely not. Never again." 10 minutes later, Ensign Charles Parker was wearing a silk veil, a heavily padded robe, and enough perfume to knock out a rhinoceros. He stood in the shadows behind the other 2 princesses, trying to look regal, while his knees knocked together. The dinner was a disaster of epic proportions. The Sultan insisted his daughters dance for the guests. The 2 real princesses performed a graceful, rhythmic dance. Parker, tasked with following along, looked like a man trying to fight off a swarm of bees while wearing a tent. Binghamton, suspicious as always, leaned in close. "There's something wrong with that 3rd daughter. She's muscular, and she's wearing combat boots under that silk." In a fit of patriotism, Binghamton lunged forward and ripped the veil off the 3rd princess. "Aha! An impostor," Binghamton shouted. The Sultan stood up, his face thunderous. "You dare lay hands upon my daughter? You dare suggest she is a man?" At that exact moment, the real Princess Siri walked in, having been rescued by Mikhail. Binghamton looked at the real Siri. He looked at the veiled Parker. He looked at the Sultan's curved dagger. I can explain," Binghamton stammered. "Explain to the State Department," the Sultan bellowed. "I am leaving this madhouse." As the Sultan stormed out, Binghamton collapsed into a chair. "Why me? Why is it always me?" Chapter 4. The Laughing Gas Legacy. The feud between Binghamton and Parker reached a breaking point when Parker managed to accidentally torpedo a garbage scow that Binghamton was using for an official harbor tour. "A fitness board!" Binghamton screamed, his singed eyebrows twitching. "I'm convening a fitness board to have you broken down to seaman 2nd class, Parker. You're a menace to navigation." The crew of the 73 knew they had to save their bumbling ensign. "If we can just get the captain in a good mood," Mikhail mused. "But how? He hasn't smiled since 1938. "I've got it, Skip." Happy, the crew's cook and occasional chemist suggested. Nitrous oxide,